Calling the meeting to order. Oh, we need to be recorded. Calling the meeting for July 29th, 2020, Plan 2040 Citizens Advisory Committee meeting officially to order, please. Thank you all again for coming. We appreciate it. This is getting down to the wire here, so but appreciate everybody tuning in. And I think Patrick had announced before, but if you are listening in, if you could please rename yourself for the record. It is being recorded, but we do need to have minutes. And so we'd appreciate it if everybody would put their real name in there, not their telephone number down. And whoever, if you're sharing a screen, who is actually in front of the screen would be helpful. So thank you, appreciate it. And Michael went through the Zoom video conferencing stuff, so we're good to go on that. And he is going to give us an update on the status of the planning process. So I'm turning it over, oh, sorry, turning it over to Patrick, sorry. Am I correct, right, Patrick?
Yeah, do you want to review the agenda real quick first?
Yeah, so tonight we're going to go through and take a look at review the status of the progress made on Plan 2040. Then we're going to get into some of the comments that we've gotten on the land use map, and particularly the online tool that we gave you all to have a look at. Then we want to get into a discussion with you about the order of the region plans, and then we'll go over the next steps in this whole process. So if you'll go to the next screen, this is a screen we've shown several times now. It's the basic framework for Plan 2040, and tonight's discussion is going to center on the land use plan and the tool that we've put together for you and the public to be able to view it and to make comments. We'll also get into setting the stage for the region plans, and that piece really fits under as part of the implementation plan there at the bottom. Currently, we as staff are really focused on preparing the plan document that's going to tie together all of this information into a well-designed document. And we're also working on finalizing the online tool for public engagement. So if you'll go to the next slide, please. So what I want to do is revisit quickly the purpose of the land use map. And the purpose, just to set the stage for tonight's discussion, we discussed this at the last meeting. The purpose is really to provide broad guidance for land use patterns in the county with about a 20-year planning horizon. And this is essentially a key centerpiece of Plan 2040. The land use plan the draft land use plan has been put together based on the Plan 2040 vision and the goals and policies and strategies that have been drafted in the development policy area map. And just as a reminder, the land use map does set the stage for zoning, and zoning is one of the key tools that helps implement the land use map. Ultimately, the zoning map will have to be consistent with this land use map. Subdivision and development regulations also help implement the land use plan, and the plan will help guide public funding and investments. And at this point, I'll turn it over to you, Mike.
Yeah. So we wanted to go through some of the comments that were received back from this group on the online interactive web tool we developed to help to allow you and the broader public to be able to give us feedback on the planned land use map. So I just want to quickly go through some of the comments that were received, and thanks to everyone who took the time to go through that and to give us thoughtful feedback. I know it's a lot of information, so I appreciate your efforts to look through there. It's also wonderful for you to be our beta test group before this goes live to the full public. Get your thoughts on things we can do to make it more user-friendly, more accessible, to clean up, make sure that it's ready for public review. So here's a brief list of some of the comments that we got back that are specific to that online tool. Some folks came through and gave some very close reads on the content, pointed out some comma errors and other little grammatical things. We're in the process of fixing those right now, getting that cleaned up. A couple people commented on something that we've been working on too, to make sure that when you zoom in and look at that planned land use map, that you can see the streets and roads. The way it was sitting when you were looking at it over the last week, it was just a white space with no labels on the roads. That was a technical thing. We were trying to figure out how best to load that map so it's fast. This was a comment that we always hear whenever we put maps online, is that if it loads slowly, people get frustrated and won't use it. So we tried to maximize speed, and by doing that, we lost the roads. So bringing that back in, and hopefully that'll be working here by the end of the week. So that way when it goes out to the public, you'll be able to see all the street names and streets. Similarly, for being able to use the maps, making the legends more accessible. In one of the maps that was shown, one of the tabs, there was not a legend there. So we're gonna make sure that shows up in our revised version for the public. Terminology. Obviously, there's a lot of technical terms that go into these things. So one of the CSE members suggested including a glossary. And as you all know, we've been working on glossary as we go through this process. So we'll be working on putting together a brief one that will accompany and be able to be accessed in the online open house. So that way, when people come across terms that are technical or bureaucratic in the planner terms, they can look it up and figure that out. We also got some comments about the functionality of the maps. We showed one map where we have side-by-side versions of the planned land use map from the 2009 General Development Plan next to the proposed draft for the Plan 2040. And someone was asking about, could we allow you to zoom in at different scales on the two different maps? Unfortunately, that's not a function that tool allows. That tool is designed to have side-by-side comparison that are as apples to apples, same to same as you can get. So the tool just doesn't allow for a difference of zooming in and out between the two different maps. So that unfortunately is something that we can't change. And then as you've seen within that online open house, on the land use map, you can actually see the shapes of where there are specific properties where either owners have applied for changes to the planned land use, or where staff have, through their analysis, made recommendations to make a change. And someone made the comment of saying, hey, what if I agree with the recommendation, but I think the boundary of it should change? That is a function that we actually discussed as we first started to conceptualize this tool, but it ends up being just too complex to build in. We were trying to balance, as we built this tool, being user-friendly within the technical ability of the agency to be able to do it ourselves, as well as to make the input that we get from the community as actionable and directly able for us to pull into our analysis as we can. And giving that extra function to be able to kind of draw your own shape around a property, it makes it far too complex for us to be able to manage, unfortunately. That's an idea I think we can try to explore in the future as we go into region plans and use tools like this in the future to see if we can allow that greater flexibility. We also received a couple comments about, I mentioned there were some properties that where staff have recommended changes. For the land use change applications the property owners submitted, we made accessible to you kind of a summary report that shared the analysis of what the staff's findings were. And we're still working on developing that summary report for the staff recommendations. It just wasn't ready in time for your review. So that is in process. We'll have that together before it goes out for full public review. And then the two other things that are in progress for us as well is at our last meeting, we discussed and reviewed this resource sensitive policy areas map. which is this multi-layered map that brings together a lot of different environmental data for the county and puts it into one synthesized map. That's something that we're still refining, making sure we've got the right, most up-to-date data, working through some issues relative to confidentiality concerns that we discussed a little bit last time. Some of these features, like historic and cultural resources, we don't want to be able to pinpoint on a map. There's always the risk with those kind of features that you're inviting looting or other kind of damage to those features. So we're still working on getting some of those things like that data layer to function in the way that we want it to be able to be publicly accessible. So we were hoping to have that for you tonight, but we're gonna, we weren't able to make that deadline, but we'll get that uploaded by the end of the week is gonna be our target. We're gonna embed that right into the online open house. So that way you've got one, through that one website, you can access all this information. Similarly, this group has developed over the past meetings this development policy areas map, and we're going to be providing an interactive version of that map as well. As you all know from developing the goals and policies, as well as a lot of the staff justifications for the decisions on changes on the land use map, we refer to those development policy areas. So we want to make sure that that is readily available so people can cross-reference those. And some of you made the comment about wanting to be able to do that as well. So we'll be adding that in to the online open house as well. Let's see, there's also some questions in the chat I wanted to catch up on. There's some creeks and smaller bodies of water that appear on the that disappear on the 2040 map from the 2009 map. That gets to how kind of on the technical side of how the maps are structured. I'll go back and see if we can rectify and make that the same as well. Let's see. Another couple questions on here. Is it possible to change the opacity of the overlay colors? That's something we're looking to as well. Again, there are some limitations in these tools by providing these additional functions to comment on them. It kind of blocks out some other functions that we typically can do in other web maps. But we'll take a look and see if we can address that. Is it accurate and possible to add the plan's history consists of reference to the small area plans? Yeah, we can see if there's a better way for us to reference that. So certainly, yes, a lot of this planning in the county tries to have a through line and respect the previous plans that were done. Those small area plans were very important. I know a lot of citizens participated and gave a lot of time and energy to that. So we can see if we can make sure that is more apparent in the text of the online open house. And then there's a question about having an open comment field. So this is, again, one of those balancing of our information. When you comment on the, we did provide an open comment in a SurveyMonkey that's related to the planned land use map. So you can open that up and just rate the land use map overall, and that gives you an open general comment field that you can access. When it came to specific properties, again, that balance of making it user-friendly and useful, efficient for us to be able to use the data, we stuck with just the drop-down menus. So when it comes to specific parcels, we just have the drop-down menus, but there's a SurveyMonkey that you can comment on the overall map to provide open-ended comment on the map.
I think that's a really bad idea. In the essence that being able to comment per land use change or even the staff is hugely important, because there is more that can be talked to than just doing the drop downs. And I think that by other people being able to see those comments as well is hugely important, because this is where the community gets to see all of this input all at the same time. And is the community going to have access to that server, the SurveyMonkey, where you're going to have to take time to break down every single one of those. Whereas if you have a separate comment field per land use request, I think that's more important than having the Survey Monkey comment section. There's about 10 different land use requests that I have that I want to have additional comments to input on, and right now I don't feel that it's, and I want people to be able to see it and understand why I'm making some of the decisions and choices that I'm making, and I want to be able to see other people's inputs and choices as well. And I think we're doing the wrong thing, because if we are not providing the community that opportunity to do that, because of the lack of small area plans being done prior to this process. So that's, needed to get that on record.
I want to say I agree 100% with his position there.
I think we had this discussion at the last meeting, and Anthony, you and I, you could tell me if this is right or wrong. I understand what you're saying. However, I have a fear that it's going to turn into political and Facebook tit for tat and everything else when people are able to see the comments. And if I remember correctly, Michael, and you, that the comments are not public, because, but I think they are, because I've already seen them, right?
Yeah.
So the comments are public. Okay.
Yeah, so for the when making a comment on the specific properties, the tool provides a summary back of all those comments. So as multiple people comment on it, you'll be able to see if they agree or disagree with the staff finding, and what their preferred land use is and their rationale for their opinion.
Where is that? Because I looked. So it gives, we need to have more than just what is currently available in that. Because so if you make a comment,
It's a free comment. Now you can make a free comment. My thing to the
where Elizabeth?
at the bottom.
So your comment is the input to the land use change request, but it is not free form. There is nowhere to actually sit in there and write and add information. So I see that, right? And you put your comment in, but where is it where I can sit there and write and type, 3 or 4 sentences on why I made the decision, or why I did what I did, or said what I, made the decision or choice that I made. Because that's not in there right now, that ability to do that. And I understand that it's going to be in the SurveyMonkey for the overall, but in there, that I'm going to have to break that down. And is the community going to have access to that and be able to see that while they're making their comments in this document as well? And this is my problem with a lot of this so far is, well, I'm not going to go into that, but this is where I think the community as a whole, and we have to deal with this all the time, dealing with this whole, some of the back and forth. So I hate to be a pain, but I'm going to hold my ground on this one. I think we need to have a separate comment field in the land use request for some additional comments. It doesn't have to be a lot. I'm not looking for books. I'm looking for, enough to give 4 or 5 sentences, so you can give a brief little blurb so that people, when they go in to see it, can also. So.
This is Kristen. I agree completely that there's a frustrating aspect of just being talked to and not being able to talk back in a form that is outside the restrictions. I think there's
I'm trying to get on and to look at it right now because I thought it was, because I know when I made a comment and I made a suggestion back to OPZ that I wanted to be able to see my comment all together, not have to scroll left to right. I wanted to be able to spell check it and make sure that I was right instead of just having one line. I had to scroll left and right if I could not have a box, and it would give me a word limit.
Mhm. Yeah, if
And
that's,
people-
if that's
yeah.
there, great. But I haven't found it, so I might be an idiot. So if somebody can point that out to me, please.
No. So can you all see my screen now with the website on it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So what Anthony is saying is accurate, that in this tab where you can comment on specific parcels, the comment options are just drop down. Here at the bottom of the screen, as people comment on it, you'll be able to review a summary of what they commented. So that's where I was saying that you can see what people have done previous to you.
And I think that's great.
Okay.
I had no issue with that. I found that interface and the use of, I found it very easy, very intuitive, very, very simple, and I really liked it. My only caveat was not being able to see, have 100 characters, 250
Right.
characters of free text.
Is it possible? I mean, I know we're just throwing things against the wall here and you guys actually have to make all of this work, which, by the way, I think the amount of effort and functionality that's gone into this has been pretty incredible so far. But
Definitely.
is there a way of, I don't want to call it a middle ground because I don't think anybody's at odds on this one, but to add comments as Anthony's talking about, but not have them fully revealed? Like, you have the comments kind of agree, disagree, and why kind of thing out there. But in order to avoid kind of the Twitter wars, all of the comments and the back and forth, just gets to planning and zoning. You still see all the other information, but it doesn't become a forum for banter.
I would agree with that. I think that's a livable, on the premise that later on, post decisions being made, that they are visible. But during the sausage being made, that's probably a wiser solution that Bill said.
I'll need to check back with our technical folks about the feasibility of that, but I think with the architecture of how this is designed, right? There's this overall layout. The frames you see are very difficult to manipulate without rewriting entire new code. So as you said, they only give you a small space to show the responses here. There's 2 columns of the questions and the response. So I think if we are able to build it in, it likely would just abbreviate, show the first couple of words of a comment. So if that's acceptable,
No,
that may be easier for us to do to begin with, because we may not be able to retool the architecture to show an entire, even 100, 200 character comment.
could we add another tab? Could we add another comment tab and make it, but still have limits, but not make it on that? I mean, it would be a little bit more, it wouldn't be linked to a specific, yeah, I'm thinking out loud here. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Hi, it's Christina. I hear your comments on this. I think we're going to have to go back and talk to the technical staff because we're already pushing the limits really far with the tool. So let us discuss it tomorrow and figure out a potential solution.
So I'm an IT guy in my day job. So if your IT guy wants to call me and talk to me, then and I can, he can tell me I'm full of, well, yeah.
It's really our GIS staff.
The character limit, I think, is an important thing here too, for us to be able to both utilize the information and, you know, avoid people writing huge amounts that we just can't, it can't be actionable for us to process it. So I wanted to check with this group, like either, you know, either verbally or using some of the icons in the Zoom. If we give you a character limit, you know, is that an acceptable thing?
Yeah, I would definitely say a character limit is very, very important, because you don't want people writing volumes. You just short, sweet statements that are, you know, in relation to what's going on.
Okay. Well, let us go back, convene with our technical folks and our GIS information technology group, and see what we can do with that. Okay. All right. If we are okay with proceeding with those refinements to the web tool, we also got some more broad picture questions about the land use map that I'd like to be able to go in and talk through a little bit now as well. Okay. So actually, I'd like to pass it on to Cindy Carrier to talk through some of these, if I could.
Okay, so we did receive a few questions that we'd like to address. One was, how do we get greenways designated as conservation land use? So areas that are currently within the adopted greenway, that's the 2002 greenway. That is our official greenway. I've not updated it since then. But areas that meet the land use criteria for conservation and open space are designated as such on the land use plan, on the Plan 2040 plan. Conservation land use category includes passive use parks, public and privately owned conservation lands, platted floodplains, and other preservation areas. Open space is the areas that include like public and privately owned golf courses, campgrounds, driving ranges, and other recreation areas. Once the 2002 Greenways Master Plan is updated, and we're anticipating that that would occur soon after the adoption of Plan 2040, then additional areas that meet conservation and open space can be added through the region plan process. And I also had mentioned before to you that there are private homeowner open space areas that during the region plan process could be added as well, with the community's blessing. We had that happen during the 2009 plan. If they wanted to turn their conservation or homeowner open space, if they were not using it for active recreation, they could use it. They wanted it natural features, so that is something that can occur as well. So then once, so we go through that, and since most of the currently unprotected areas of Greenway are privately owned, their protection is dependent now upon public and private acquisition for conservation, or through the development process as part of open space and forest conservation requirements. So they don't really meet the criteria for that. Staff is currently reviewing the natural environment section to add specific strategies related to amending Article 17, which is our subdivision and development code, to add both items items that are currently on the list of natural features, to add to that list. And also strengthen regulatory requirements for natural features. And we will include a strategy in Plan 2040 to amend Article 17 to add the adopted Greenway as a priority retention area, which is not currently in the code. Another question we got was how do landowners who did not file a land use change application or we didn't support it, how would they proceed before the county council? And so this is just like any other amendment that would come before a bill during a county council. The landowner can petition the councilman to amend the land use plan, and if the council wants to entertain that, they would do that through an amendment. And if majority of the votes are they have a majority of the votes, then it would pass, and it would also have to be passed as part of the whole Plan 2040 itself. And then
Yeah.
I think
I have a question on that, sorry. If let's just say I want to change my land use, so I go to my councilwoman and ask her to put in an amendment specifically for my piece of property, and that is an amendment that is like every other amendment, it has to have public notice. Does it have to, it gets a public hearing, or can it be passed the night that it's added to the record?
the amendment could be passed, but there would have to be there would be an testimony taken at the next meeting.
Okay. I just want to make sure that it goes through the regular amendment process with, like you said, once the amendment is adopted, then they have to give public testimony. Okay. Thank you.
And then we're also asked if all land must be consistent with the existing use, how does the change occur? And that's not exactly true. It doesn't have to be consistent with the existing use, but that was one criteria that we looked at along with a whole list of criteria. It still has to be consistent with, we look at the division, the development policy area, the zoning, and and we make decisions based on, or recommendations actually, based on the individual recommendations or requested changes.
And
Did you have something, Mike? So then there was a question of, does the process allow for, during, I guess, the region plan to challenge the support of P&Z before the council? So I'm guessing this is related to zoning. So if this majority of the region plan advisory committee does not support the county executive's recommendation for zoning on a particular property during the comprehensive zoning process, then they can testify at the council hearing as the region plan advisory committee. And if it's not the majority and they want to testify as individuals, then they can do that as well. Or maybe it's a minority opinion of the region plan process. They can just state that was their minority decision and just make it known. Kind of a question on what was planned for the Route 3 corridor. Well, like many of our corridors, we are recommending that those areas be retained as the existing use so that we can get more input from the community and also have the benefit of guidance of a corridor management plan, or at least more discussion with traffic improvements in those areas, and just a better idea of what it is that communities want to see in these corridors. Because as you know, most of them are completely commercial. And we're not, we're not sure what the future of commercial is going to look like in this county. So, for Route 3 in particular, same thing, we're recommending that current land use be retained. We did look at some of the areas had an existing use and existing zoning and are being developed per the zoning category, but their land use from the 2009 plan was not consistent with that. So we are recommending to change the land use to be consistent with what's being developed. We kind of feel like if it's currently developed or it's been developed in the last couple of years, then that will be here 20 years from now. And the anticipated, lifespan is going to be greater than that. So that's, and therefore should have a land use category that comports with what's on the ground. And let's see, we had how does the schedule of region plans affect the ability of a landowner to use the land? So property can be used, developed or redeveloped in accordance with the existing zoning and development regulations. I mean, that's going on today. And after Plan 2040 is adopted, in areas where a moratorium is not in place, then a landowner can apply for an administrative rezoning that will be decided on by an administrative hearing officer. And among other findings, the administrative hearing officer will have to find that the request conforms to the general development plan, and that would be Plan 2040 after it's adopted. In relation to land use, number of dwelling units, type of intensity, location, etc. And then a comprehensive zoning process will occur with each of the region plans. Did I miss any?
I think that's good. And there was a question kind of from the early on about, I mentioned the county council and the potential for amendments. And there was a question in the chat about, thought we would try to design this to avoid amendments. And I wonder if you could speak to that.
I mean, that it is their right. They're the body that is charged with the official adoption, and all we can do is put forth, what we feel like is the best plan. It helps when there's a consensus. Certainly, more groups of people that are telling them this is what we want there'll be less likely for amendments. But we can't control those amendments. And if we disagree, then with them we can voice that concern and why. Maybe do a better job of justifying why we would disagree and why it would be inconsistent. Any amendments that we don't agree with be inconsistent, but it's ultimately up to the council to decide.
Any other thoughts or questions on those before we move on? Okay. Hearing none, let me ask Patrick to come online again and talk to us a bit about the development policy areas map. We've made a few refinements now that the planned land use map has been prepared that we want to make sure that we share with you all. One thing you'll notice, of course, right off the bat is we've changed the color scheme from what you have seen in the past on this map. And this is to, in our previous iterations, we were trying to have really starkly different colors to make it dramatically apparent where the differences were. And now as we're putting things out, getting ready for the final plan document, we're putting things into more traditional land use colors, for the green for rural and ag areas. Also thinking about the color palette for the whole document as this all hangs together, as it gets pulled together at the end. Patrick, with that?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So if you'll go to the next slide, I'll launch into, these are, all of these are really just some fairly minor tweaks to the policy areas, but we wanted to share this with you. So in the vicinity of BWI, there was a transit-oriented development overlay area that was shown just north of BWI, and we've actually removed that area because in doing further research, we realized that much of that land is owned by Maryland Aviation Administration, and so it's not likely to develop as a TOD. Also, along the east side of Aviation Boulevard, we brought several smaller commercial properties into the critical economic area just for consistency. And probably the largest change in this area is that lowest circle. There's an area of built industrial and C4 zoned land between Aviation Boulevard and I-97. It's actually the Cromwell Park area, and we went ahead and brought this into the critical economic area because it's already developed and probably will stay there. So the next slide shows some tweaks to the Route 3 corridor area, really just to clean up the line between the commercial and residential or rural agricultural areas and help make these consistent with the recommended land use. So at Millersville Road, there's an existing C4 zoned area that we've gone ahead and included in the corridor management area. That's that top circle there. There was some area behind Waugh Chapel that we've brought into the corridor management area just based on the current mixed use zoning. And then the central circle there, we actually split a property between corridor management and rural and agricultural policy area. Previously, it had been all in corridor management, and we're showing that as a split, partially in rural and agricultural, because it better fits with that area. So the next slide will show the Fort Meade area, or just north of Fort Meade. There's a small portion of area along the Brock Bridge Road that we brought in a handful of properties there just for consistency with the planned land use and existing zoning and the surrounding area. And the next slide, in the parole area, we're showing an extension of the town center policy area along a stretch of the south side of Bestgate Road, just to incorporate a transitioning area that already has multiple commercial uses and that have been developed there in recent years. So a small extension there. And then the next slide is up in the Glen Burnie area, we've added an additional village center overlay area at the Arundel Shopping Center. Recently, the council passed bills 1320 and 1420, and these brought the Arundel Shopping Center and the Marley Station area into the commercial revitalization area designation. And so because of that, we wanted to make sure that Arundel was included in one of the targeted areas, and it seemed like a potential village center was maybe the best fit for that. The Marley Station area is actually was actually already incorporated into that corridor management area, just under the word Glen there in the map. So that's it. Those are the tweaks that were made to the development policy area, and I just wanted to share those with you.
And as a reminder to what I said earlier, this map, we're going to make it as a web map, so you can zoom in, zoom out. I know it's hard to tell these distinctions and lines that Patrick's talking about at this scale. So we're going to put this actually into the online open house, so you can zoom in and see kind of more clearly where those lines end, where those transitions are between the different policy areas. Any questions or comments on those tweaks? Okay. Okay. Ready to talk about region plans?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Don Ziegler. Here's a map of the proposed 9 region plans. The boundaries have not changed since February. The GDP County Council bill decided that the general development plan had to propose a schedule for the region plans, and that is what we are here to do tonight. You can go to the next slide, please. All right. So comprehensive zoning will be a part of the region plan process. The Office of Planning and Zoning will seek a moratorium to administrative rezoning applications in active region plans. If the county does not extend a zoning moratorium during the region plan process, then administrative rezoning will be processed. After Plan 2040 is adopted and becomes effective, future rezoning applications will be evaluated for consistency with the Plan 2040 plan land use map. If we can go to the next slide. All right, so order of the region plans. We're planning to do 3 region plans at a time. Each plan will take 18 to 36 months to complete each region. The considerations for this is just considerations for the order are range from high growth pressure, large number of land use applications, and adjacency and proximity of the region plans itself. And the start times that we had on the previous survey that we gave out earlier were March of 2021, August of 2022, and May of 2024. We also will have a survey coming up and just wanted you to consider other factors as well, as far as population and household units as well. And we'll be able to show that to you just in a second to help you determine the order of these region plans. All right. So we have provided a survey monkey link for you to get reliable results. Last week's homework included a survey to the region plan order, but we did not have enough members to really build a consensus. Thank you to all the members who did complete the survey and provided comments, but we do have a much simpler survey that we are asking all the CAC members here to complete live. So we're going to send you a link.
Yeah, so for all the CAC members, if you look in the chat, I privately sent you a link to this survey. And
I don't know if it's best for me to share my screen right now. Okay,
yeah.
That's fine.
Well, we'll transition while they're doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, Don, if you want to talk them through the survey.
Okay. All right, just 1 second. All right, can everyone see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
You can.
All right, so here's what you're going to do to complete this survey. Everyone's going to put their CAC member name down, and then here is a map of their region plan order from north to south, east to west. And then I did mention we had open source data information that you can look at. Just for example, we have population estimate that you can look at by constituent services areas that can show how many people are living in particular region area. My computer's a little bit slow to refresh, but Yeah, hopefully you can see the change, the different areas.
And Don, if you click on the constituent services at the top there,
Yep,
just
it's already,
above,
yep. Mhm.
and then click on percent change in that first window.
I'm sorry. I don't see the percent change.
Just at the bottom of that window, bottom of that frame.
Oh,
There you go. You're,
okay,
there you
I'm
go.
sorry.
And that, if we can make it bigger, it shows the percent population change in each of the regions. So you can get kind of an at-a-glance look at which regions have grown the fastest in the last
Right.
20 years, get a sense of that growth pressure they've experienced. And this is based on percentage change, not the raw number of people moving in. But.
Right, and we have another link for household estimates that also show the same thing by constituent, by the map areas, region plan areas. So you can also see the percent change for household unit percent count as well. So, yes.
Hi, it's Christina. I just want to clarify, this is a 10-year from 2010 to
I'm sorry.
2019.
Sorry. Yes.
No, Michael said 20.
Oh, apologies.
It's okay.
So what we're going to do on this live survey is that you're going to pick the order survey from 1 through 9. And the cool thing about this survey is that you can rearrange the order of the plan by just picking a number and dragging it to the top and to try to make that your number 1. So if you want region plan number 7 to be the first one to go up, just grab it. If you want number 4 to be number 2, you can just grab it and put it there, or you can change each number by the side, by a list to the left, but it's just much easier just to grab it and move it. So after you do that, we will analyze the live results to see which order the CAC has chosen to move first. So the analyzed results will appear live once everyone has completed their survey. So we're just going to give you a couple of minutes.
So I have a question.
yeah.
I have a question.
Okay, can I do a couple real quick? So Pat Hooker, I saw you waving your hand first, and Kristen Pauly, I somehow didn't get the survey to you. Could you send me another chat message privately, and then I'll send it to you? And then Catherine will go to you next. So Pat.
Okay, I have a basic misunderstanding about this whole process, which is preventing me from doing anything with it. And I'll give you an example so you can show me how it works. In 5, there is a landowner who has already introduced a sketch plan for a piece of property he does not have the proper zoning for. It got deferred or detained or whatever. He did apply though for a LUCA, and the LUCA was supported. So this is what I don't understand. When the GDP passes the county council and it's done, and this landowner ends up in the 3rd region, the last one to be done, does he have to wait to appear before the county council until after his region has met? Or as soon as it's done, as soon as the GDP is adopted, can he, regardless of the region, forgetting about the region, can he simply go and apply for his zoning change at that time? Can I make the question any clearer?
I think the question's pretty clear, Pat. So, you know, in the perfect world, we would have a moratorium in place on piecemeal rezoning requests during the region plan process. And if Anne Arundel County, which has had a lot of different processes over the years, but you know, we're trying to establish a work program where you do the GDP and then you do the region plan updates, and then you do the GDP and you do the region plan updates. In some jurisdictions, they have basically a zoning moratorium until you get into your own region plan. While we would like to see that, we don't know, because the council has to pass a bill for it, and we don't know how that's going to go. We, as the Office of Planning and Zoning staff, we are definitely going to recommend that there be a bill that establishes a moratorium. So let's say you have your first 3 region plans going. we definitely would like to see a moratorium for the first 3 region plans. I think politically, it may be unrealistic to expect that there's going to be a moratorium on all of them. And this gets again to what Amy was saying about text amendments. Again, the council has the ability and they have the power on this. We do not. We can make a recommendation based on best planning practice, but it is up to the council as to how they want to proceed.
And that's part of my problem. Not that I want to speak up for the development on Maryland Route 3, but it seems unfair to this particular landowner if, say, someone in Region 4 can go immediately or go within the first 18 months for a zoning change, and yet he has to wait 5 to 6 years. And I have a hard time understanding why the council would do that. I mean, it's a nice plan, but it seems to me basically unfair to people in various regions of the county.
Yeah, I mean,
I can decide if I should put Region 5 last and hopefully hold up some of this development for 5 or 6 years, or if I should put it first and hope we get it over with. So I'm having trouble with the survey because I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
well, I mean, that's a decision. I mean, that's strategy, right? And you have to make a decision, you know, your best guess here. But the problem, I mean, this may be a little bit off topic and a little far afield of where I should be, but if you think that the council would not pass a moratorium while region plans are waiting to go forward, then you probably would want your region to go first, because you probably want to have that community engagement and do the region plan and then do the comp rezoning as one piece. And we know that the area you're in has a lot of high growth pressure. We know that that whole Route 3 corridor, we did recommend basically deferring the land use change recommendations to the region planning process. So you know, I think that that's an area that's calling out for a region plan first. And now I'm going to skew the results, right? And the dog started barking, so I should probably cut myself off.
I'd like to add to that just a little. What I was saying earlier is if there isn't a moratorium in place, then the landowner can apply for a rezoning if there, you know, if there's no moratorium, or if there's a moratorium only for the first 3 that go, they can apply for a rezoning for the other 6 areas. But they would need to, the hearing officer would need to find consistency with Plan 2040, whatever that land use is.
But if there's not a moratorium in place, the regional meetings sort of lose their importance because the landowners can simply apply when they want to anyways.
They can apply, but they would still need to be consistent with the land use plan that gets adopted.
They'd have to make their case, right?
They'd have to show that we made a mistake or there's been a change, and that's going to be very difficult to do in a short amount of time.
Okay, thank you.
Michael, you have a question about why can't we do all the region plans together, which I can take that. Right now, with staffing resources in the Office of Planning and Zoning for the long range planning team, we can handle commencing 3 plans at one time, because generally we're going to have a senior planner and then either a planner 1 or planner 2 assigned to each region plan. So in order to do 9 of them, we need 6 more senior planners and we need 6 more planner 1 and planner 2s. And I can tell you, we are not going to get those resources. We also don't agree that it's prudent to have that kind of resourcing because it makes it very uneven. You have a very intense planning effort with many staff, and then you run the risk that you may not be able to keep them busy during the rest of the work program cycle. I mean, in my opinion, the best The best way to go forward would be if we could tackle half of them at one time, and then in the next two to 3 year period, tackle the next half. But we do not have staffing to do that, and we cannot promise that we can do it. I mean, we know we can't deliver.
And Catherine's been patiently waiting.
Thank you. One of the when we did the last survey that you didn't get a sufficient response on, you gave us some framing that were a couple of parameters. One was where's the most growth pressure. One was where are the most requested changes.
Yeah.
I found that extraordinarily helpful in thinking about this, especially for parts of the county that I don't know, as well as the part of the county I represent. But I don't see that as a reference to help us with this work.
Can you share that on your screen, Don? Do you have that available?
Of the previous, okay.
Yeah.
1 second. Just give me 1 second. All right, it's being pulled up. Sorry for the slow data set. So this was the previous survey. As many of you saw, so we had, a plan order based on growth pressure in council managed districts, and this was our suggestion, and how they would be broken out for the 3 different dates. So it was 2, 3, and 7, 4, 5, and 9, 1, 6, and 8. That would go last, and that was considering growth pressure in council managed districts, and it kind of goes back to the 2 data sets I gave in the survey we just gave out tonight. Option B, considering the highest number of land use changes, and the first ones that would go would be region plans 4, 5, and 9, then 1, 2, and 7, and then region plans 3, 6, and 8 would be the last ones. Option C considered similar geographic locations, and region plans 1, 2, and 3, followed by 4, 5, 6, and then region plans 7, 8, 9 would be the last set. So those were the options before. So I'm going to go back to the previous survey that we gave out tonight. So hopefully everyone has finished up, so we can.
Actually, let's check. Do you want some more time, or?
Where is it?
Well, it won't work for me.
I can't find it.
Please give us a little more time, because given what you just told us, that may change thinking.
Don, would you mind bringing up that old survey again so people can see that on their screens?
Any survey.
Reference? And then, Pat, let me see if I can resend it to you. So, Pat, do you have the chat window up, Pat? Can you see the chat?
No.
No.
No. It does. You're on top of it.
All right, just 1 second, it's pulling up.
Thank you. No.
All right. All right, so the first set was just showing.
Can you pause for a second, Don?
Sure.
So, Pat, have you been able to see that chat window yet, or is Don's screen covering that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I have a tiny little screen. I can barely see.
Yeah.
You can skip me. That's all right.
We don't want to do that. Don, can I ask you just to stop sharing screen for like a minute or two, and then that way Pat hopefully can see that, and then we can have you share screen again.
The other thing I was going to say, if it's easier, is that this was a July 23rd email that was sent from Mark.
Well, Elizabeth, that's the old survey, not the new one we just sent out.
Correct, but that's the one that has the parameters that Kate is trying to copy. So if you go back in your,
on the
to
chat.
your email, July
Okay.
23rd, that gives you the parameters
Okay.
for those who want it.
So
Okay.
Pat, did you get it now?
No, please, just go
Ah.
ahead.
Okay.
I
I,
appreciate
I apologize for that.
it. Don't. I'm sure it's me.
All right, good. I see Kate Bauer has a question. She has her hand raised.
Doesn't work for me. I can't do anything.
The survey doesn't work?
No. I have all my numbers in order, the way I want them ordered, but I can't make it work.
So when you hit like submit or finish, it doesn't,
No, they don't move.
oh, you can't drag the actual numbers up.
Right.
On the left-hand side, can you pull down the numbers and it will show 1 through 9 and select numbers from that? Doing that?
I don't, now I've lost everything. Now I don't see a damn thing. That was not there. I
If you
can tell,
just,
I can tell you the numbers.
Yeah.
sure, that'd be fine.
In my order, my order is 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 2, 6, 9, 8.
One more time, please.
1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 2, 6, 9, 8.
Bingo.
I can do that. I can do that also.
Yeah, please,
Sure.
Pat.
Pat, it would be 4, 5, 9,
1, 3, oh, I'm sorry.
1, 2, 7, 3, 6, 8.
All right.
Hey, Don, I can enter in data for at least one of them if you can. I can enter in. Let me enter in Ellen, so you can enter in Pat. So you've got the code,
Okay.
right? Can you answer your own survey?
Yep.
I've got Ellen. You've got Pat.
All right.
Is there anyone else having trouble that needs us to enter data?
I'll just make this easy. I agree with the last, the option B, I think that was. I think that's.
It sounds like Pat Lynch is having trouble. And Anthony, when you referenced.
Actually, I'm sorry. Disregard that. I need to think about this a little bit more. Sorry, go ahead, Christina.
No, I just was going to ask you when you said option B, I wasn't sure what you meant. But
Referring to the
I'm going to
old-
leave you to think.
Yeah.
Christina, why were you thinking that Pat was having trouble?
So in the chat right now, Pat Lynch and Amy Leahy are having trouble. So
Okay.
Michael and Don, do you have the ability to do another ordering so we can get their results in?
No, unfortunately not.
I can.
Because you can
I
only enter one. What
Yes.
I
about
could enter one in if you send me a link, and then maybe
I can do it.
Amy Leahy, if you will message me, Patrick, I can enter your information in, your choice.
It looks like Michael has also given me the ability to enter one in.
Okay.
If you need me, I think I can do it. Okay, why don't I take care of Pat Lynch? She has sent me her order.
All right.
Appreciate everyone's patience with this. I know it's tough.
Yeah. So these are live results that you're looking at right now as people still put their answers in. We have 12 people who have entered in their data. These numbers can change. Still at 12 answered so far. Just give people a few more minutes.
Don, I don't know if you saw my message. Can you see if Kristen Pauly's response is included?
Question, guys, as we're sitting here thinking
Yes.
about this. So council still has to vote on this order too, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So far we have Joelle, Karen, Elizabeth, Matt, Thomas, Elizabeth, Kristen, Kate, Melanie, Gary, Ellen, and Bill, who have responded so far.
I'm having browser issues. I just sent it to Michael. Should be entering it for me.
Pat Lynn sent hers to Cindy. Not Cindy. I sent mine in.
Christina.
Yeah.
I'm working. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Don't do anything yet.
All right.
This is harder than it looks. I want to make sure I get it right for Pat.
Hello, this is Brenna Fune. I'm just going to pitch in to mention that I can actually handle multiple entries. So if anyone else is having issues inputting their entries, please send me a private message and I will make sure that I update it with your entries and include your name alongside that.
Brent, I just sent you Anthony's.
Kristen is asking if we got hers, and from the list from the names you read, Don, I did not see hers.
Kristen Pauly. Yep, we have hers.
You do?
Oh, you do now? Okay.
Good.
Who is Chasm identified on the, has their name identified as Chasm?
It's Charles Mannion.
Okay. I just input his because I thought he sent me his privately and I thought that was Amy's. So Brent, I'm going to forward you Amy Leahy's and I'll need you to input hers, please. Okay. Well, Amy just sent hers to everyone. So Brent, can you pick up Amy Leahy's and enter that?
Sure thing.
I could probably find some game show music.
I missed the background.
I was just going to say, this is an issue, though. I want to go back to it. And, you know, we talked about the moratorium by county council. You talked about that we can make these recommendations, but county council is going to have their own. We need to think about proposed bills or text amendments that will affect these regional plans and comp rezoning and how this is going to work. And I didn't really think about it, but everybody needs to think about that, because what we put down here today probably is not going to be what council accepts. And we need to be thinking about how the land use and the development is going to change in the next 9 years. And one thing that we haven't brought up is, you know, school capacity, the school utilization chart. Something else to consider that has effect on all this. So while you're waiting for these to be loaded and computated, think about all those things.
All right, we have 16 people so far. We'll just wait another 2 minutes or so to make sure everyone has gotten in their ranking and vote. And I'll just read out the names that I have so far. Amy Leahy, Pat Lynch, Anthony Brent.
One of those Amy's is actually Charles Mannion.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, those Charles. Okay.
Yep. The first one is Charlie Mannion.
Okay. Bill Dodd, Ellen, Gary Mahler, Melanie, Kate, Christian Pauly, Elizabeth, Thomas Foss, Joelle, Karen, Elizabeth Rosberg, Matt Korbalek. So still sitting on 16, and just wait.
Wait a minute.
One more minute.
I didn't hear my name yet. I know I gave my vote to somebody. Pat Hooker. Remember we had that long discussion? I did vote. But I didn't see my name.
Who did you voted by submission or you
Yeah,
voted
you
by?
gave it.
I spoke to someone.
Yes, that was. Now I put your name above for maybe as administrator. I couldn't put that in. Brent, if you were listening, could you put in Pat Hooker's? Yeah.
I'll email it to you, or I'll text it to you, Brent.
Okay, perfect. I'm standing by for that.
Do you need the numbers?
I have it.
Okay.
I take notes when Pat talks. We know I'm talking.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe Brent can change Amy Leahy to Charles Mannion, one of hers.
Yep.
The first one, I think, was Charles, not really.
How do you spell Mannion?
Manion.
Got it.
2 N's, right?
I don't think so.
Yes, it is
Hold
two
on,
N's.
I got it right here.
It is two N's.
It is 2 N's. You're right.
I trust Charles on that.
Yeah. And
I need to look it
I put my actual name up on the screen now instead of that abbreviation.
Okay, appreciate it. And for our guests, really appreciate your patience through this.
Yes.
This is probably not what you were hoping to hear when you were going to sign up for this meeting.
All right, I keep saying wait a couple more minutes, but we're at 16, and I know a couple of people are putting theirs in. So just want to make sure we do get to all the members. But right now, you can kind of see what the order is. Right now, we're at the
So
top ones.
we're waiting for Joel and Karen.
Oh, Joe and Karen have put theirs in.
Okay.
Let me just refresh one more time.
Then Thomas has.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then I think.
Do you have Kate in there? Has she done it?
So I have Charles Mannion, Amy Leahy, Pat Lynch, Anthony Brent, Bill Dodd, Ellen Moyer, Gary Mahler, Melanie, Kate Bauer,
Okay.
Christian Pauly, Elizabeth Lee, Thomas Foss, Joe Greenwell, Karen, and Elizabeth, and Matt Korbiak.
And Brent, are you working on Pat Hooker's?
Yeah, I am. Getting there.
Sorry, Pat. We'll get you in there.
You know, this is a little bit, it's a little awkward doing this in the meeting, but because we got so few results on the poll that we had sent out to you earlier, we thought it was important to go ahead and do this during the meeting. And we redesigned it a little so that we didn't have any groupings of region plans, so that it was free form for you all to pick an order from 1 through 9. So I do appreciate the patience and the staff talking today and thinking about how to best gather this information.
Okay, Don, so if you refresh, thank you, Christina. Don, if you refresh, Pat should be in now.
All right. Yep. She's in. All right, so this is the number we're going with. We have 17 so far. So it looks like we have 2, region plan number 2, then number 3, then number 4, then 5, region plan 7, 1, 9, 8, and 6. So I'll repeat that one more time. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 7.
Wait a minute, wait, you said 7 the first time and then 1. Are we switching orders now?
All right, no, so I'll repeat that. All right, 2, 3, and then region plan 4,
Right,
region plan 5,
right?
region plan 1,
Mm.
region plan 7, then region plan 9, 6, and 8. So that is the number, and then we can always confirm with the scores that we see here.
Don, would you mind bringing back up the map for a second so we could take a look at that?
Sure.
What that means geographically. For those of us who haven't tattooed the region plan map in our brains yet.
Might be better to show it on 1 second. All right.
Yeah. And again, so then the first tier would be regions 2, 3, and 4. So kind of the northern end of the county going from west to east. Then 1, 5, and 7.
Mhm.
And then the third tier being 6, 8, and 9.
Yeah, so those are our results for the region plan order. So yeah, the groupings 2, 3, and 4, 5, 1, 7, 9, 6, 8. So 2, 3, and 4 would be the ones going up first, according to these results. And we'll always confirm with the numbers later. All right, were there any questions on that?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a very basic question. You gave 3 criteria on which the staff actually organized the 9 studies. What is the most, well, I'm not really seeing what would cause a real disagreement over what order we're in. What would be the major reason? I'm in area region planning area 4, and I had really no definitive other than I didn't want to be in the first group. I wanted to wait and see the experience of the first group that went. If based on the numbers that you've given, and by the way, we got different variations of this number, 1, 5, 7, 6, 8, 9, for the last 6 on the numbers you gave us. Why would the county change that? If we went before the county council, what criteria would they use to say, I don't like the numbers that these people propose? I'm not getting it as to, we're all going to do our work. We're all have different variations in the data that supports the profile for our areas. What is the big deal about the county might change it, and what is the most important criteria that the staff was looking at when you put some of yours together?
Oh, this is what the CAC is proposing, we laid out, a number of different issues. We, even had the past survey and showing our criteria of how we did this. The county council can always decide to do what they feel is best, but we felt it was important to show what the CAC was going to consider to be the order for the next round of region plans. So that was simply the basis of why we wanted to do this exercise.
And also, can I add that, Pat, it's up to them. For example, and this was something that I had brought up before, is that maybe those who went earliest, I think it was Mayo, gets to go first this time because they have the oldest small area plan. So we don't know. It's up to the council. They may, who knows what they're thinking, but they can change it.
But can you guess? Can you think of some reason that they might say, I don't want 4 in the first group or rearrange it? I mean, I'm not getting it.
Sure, it's called politics and horse trading.
All right, but let's get in a little more granular than that. Give me one reason.
So Pat, at that point, we would have to be reading minds to try to figure out why they would want to change something like that. But the realm of possibility is there.
All right, well, no one's answering my question, so let's move on.
Okay, so sorry, you can email us or email the staff and they will try and answer it, I'm sure. You can always email it to me. So any other questions or comments before we get into the administrative items?
Does anyone else want to share any other thoughts or rationale? Just starting with 2, 3, and 4 seem reasonable to folks. Anybody want to voice a strong opinion otherwise?
Melanie, we can't hear you.
Elizabeth, I'm in 2. I'm very excited to be in the first group because I think that our community needs a little attention. We always feel like we're forgotten. So hopefully it'll be positive attention, but you never know. Beware what you ask for, right?
True. And we have not heard yet from the administration how all this is going to be determined, but I think, Christina, you can probably confirm that it's going to be similar. It'll be an application process to the administration to want to be on these committees.
You mean on the region plans for the CACs?
Right, yeah.
We really have not tried to lay any of that out yet. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. There are a lot of other things that are at higher priority right now, like rolling out the online open house and
right. And so I'm just saying that there will be an application process, and so we'll let you know. Obviously, everybody will be involved in that. And go from there. So we got to get through, like Christina said, we got to get this online first. So, okay.
And a full draft of the plan and out for 30 days. I mean, we have a lot of big things. We will be discussing it and probably putting forward our recommendations to the county exec on how to do it.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt? Because once again, I know you guys all read the July 15th meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to adopt, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Kate. Second? Yay, Elizabeth is seconding with thumbs up. All in favor? Everybody thumbs up?
I have a discussion. I have a comment.
Because we're all on mute. Go ahead, Pat.
Okay, you always think we don't read the minutes, Elizabeth. And I just want to point out, since this is an excellent set of minutes, that there is a typo on the second page that I hope you've caught, but I just thought I would be a little anal and make that point before you voted them in. And that is on the second paragraph. It says, development in these areas is guided by policies, regulations to limit or prohibit impacts of land. And then it says cess to sensitive areas. It should be uses, land uses to sensitive areas.
Thank you. I had made that correction, and so we did know that. Thank you.
Great. The point I'm making is not the typo. It's that Elizabeth doesn't think.
That's other people are reading these, and Mark does a great job.
Yes, absolutely.
At the moment, but thank you. Patrick gets to do them this time, I think. So, thank you. Okay, next steps. This goes to Cindy.
Okay, so next steps. So first I want to thank you all for sticking with this process and being here tonight with great participation and all of your input in the open house tool that I think it will make it better for the open house. Originally we were going to have 9 public forums, if you remember, and then COVID happened and we've had to switch to this online open house tool. Because of that delay, it's now put us at August. We were originally gonna do these 9 public forums over 3 weeks, but because we are now starting this open house at the beginning of August, we've decided that we will hold it open for 6 weeks instead of 3. Basically, typically August is a vacation month for people, so we did want to give a little extra time for that. And, that does extend the overall timeline 3 to 4 weeks, but we think it's worth it to be able to get, additional input. We would like to meet with the CAC September 23rd. You might want to write that down, just hold that date. It's not one of your typical Wednesdays that you want to, I think is that the 3rd Wednesday or 4th? I have to go back and look at the calendar. It might not be one of your typical meeting nights, but it would give us enough time to respond to comments, or not respond to them, but summarize the comments and get them out to you. And then what we'd like to do at that meeting is, with the benefits of the community comments, be able to come to a consensus on the land use plan. And then we would release a full draft of the plan in late September for a 30-day review. And then in October, so before the public review has ended, have one more last meeting with you all for the purpose of you being able to put together a public, whatever you're going to say to the planning advisory board, to put together your testimony. You're really, because of the Open Meetings Act, you're not really supposed to be conducting business with emails, etc. So this would give you an opportunity to do this in a public setting and decide kind of some of the key points that you want to make to the planning board. And then we would kind of finalize the plan, and then we anticipate putting that before the board in November and introducing the plan to the county council in December.
Cindy, can you repeat the date in September again, please?
September 23rd.
Okay.
And October 14th.
Any other questions? Okay, so Cindy, when does the, refresh my memory, PAB meets 2nd and 4th Wednesday of each month when they meet?
Well, that's their typical schedule the second and fourth, but we may need to discuss meeting on, having a different date, a special meeting date. One of the other Wednesdays probably would work better. What we don't want to happen is get caught up in the holidays. I know one of their meetings falls on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Okay, but so you're okay with meeting October 14th, which is the second Wednesday?
Yeah, I don't anticipate any reason for the board to meet if something comes up. And there's no plans that will be put before them before then.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? So we have September 23rd and October 14th. Probably let's hope we meet in person, but if not, we're going to be Zoom experts. So, see how that goes. So, okay. Administration good. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Thomas, I see thumbs up. Melanie, seconds. All in favor? Everybody's thumbs up because we're all muted. Thank you all. We appreciate it. We are officially done early. Hope everybody has a great night, and I will see you in September. Thank you, thank you, thank you.